At City Hall, you have a weird series of rules that have been laid down. You don't like gender-specific phrases like ladies and gentlemen to be used because it may exclude non-binary people. What if somebody wants to be called a lady or a gentleman? You know, British Airways have done this too, and I'm like, hang on, when I get on a plane, I actually quite like to be called a gentleman. Where are my rights to still be called a gentleman?
Well, I'm not sure about that, about that being a City Hall rule. What I can tell you...
Well, my self-categorisation, anyway.
Well, no, I love days when I'm called a gentleman, you know, but I think what it may be is, you know, somebody may have said friends or people or Londoners, I don't know. But no, nothing is banned, you know.
It's an advisory. It says, for example, migrants shouldn't be called illegal, even if they're illegal migrants. They should be called insecure immigration status people or undocumented. But frankly, if they're an illegal...
I can deal with that.
Yeah, but if they're an illegal migrant, they're an illegal migrant. Why do you care what the phraseology is?
Let me deal with that. So when you're an asylum seeker coming to the UK, there are now no safe routes to come to the UK. And what the government has done is outlawed, made it a criminal offence to come to the UK for asylum seekers. So many asylum seekers who come to the UK may be defined as illegal migrants because of the government passing this law, which isn't law in other countries, but they are asylum seekers who go on to become refugees, many of them Great Britons.
Couple of quick ones before I let you go. By far the front runner in the Republican race remains Donald Trump. You and he have got a pretty checkered history, to put it mildly. You allowed a big balloon of him as a baby to fly over Westminster when he came into town. He's been pretty scathing about you. How would you feel if he is re-elected President of the United States?
Just to give full context, I also allowed a balloon of me with a bikini to fly in London as well.
Which was equally unedifying, I have to say.
So it could have been worse. It could have been me in person with a bikini. What sauce for the goose? But can I say this? Look, this is my problem with Trump. I've got a number of problems with President Trump, and you and I have discussed this in the past. Is how I felt when he said some of the things about the religion that I follow, how my family felt in America, proud Americans, proud Muslims, about what he said, about women I know, how they felt when he was elected. But you will have seen what happened on Capitol Hill, you know, when, you know, listen, there's losing with dignity, being magnanimous in defeat. And what happened at Capitol Hill, for those who were agnostic or not sure, should be the final straw in relation to his fitness for office. This is America, for goodness sake. You know, you and I are big fans of West Wing. We look to America as a beacon for democracy, human rights, separation of powers, you know, so forth, the checks and balances. And I think sometimes, you know, yes, challenge is good, debate is good, but sometimes people are not fit for office. And I frankly don't think, and I don't want to cause offence to your American viewers and stuff, I do not think Donald Trump is fit to be the president of that great country.
I mean, should somebody who's facing nearly 100 criminal charges, just on basic principle, should they be allowed to be a candidate for president? As the Constitution stands at the moment, he is allowed to be. He could be president and be in prison.
Can I say, one of the wonderful things and the joys of America is due process. And I think it's right that Donald Trump has his day or days in court. I think there is a presumption of innocence. There's a separate discussion about whether somebody who's presumed innocent should be barred from office. You know, I think as a former human rights lawyer, that may be unfair. You know, you're charged with an offence, not found guilty. He later on may be acquitted. I think there's a separate discussion about that.
But if he was convicted, for argument's sake, if Trump was convicted of a criminal offence before the election, what would your position be then?
Well, surely then you'd expect the you know, there to be provision where he's not allowed to stand with a conviction, particularly if it's a conviction to do with what happened on Capitol Hill, particularly if it's to do with a conviction in relation to dishonesty and so forth. Look, I used to be a lawyer, Piers. If you've got even a minor conviction for dishonesty, the Law Society doesn't allow you to be a lawyer, right? Because you've got client money and so forth, and so forth. You know, and so I think, you know, the President of the United States is not arguably, it probably is, definitely is, the most powerful person in the world. The idea somebody with a conviction can be leader of the country beggars belief. But also, let me see the problem. What message does that send to people across the great country of America and around the globe in relation to no consequences for your action?
Final question, Mr. Mayor. I know you've been very generous with your time, but recent studies showed that there have been more than 300,000 racist messages about you since you became mayor in 2016, and that number's increased exponentially since the ULEZ story has played out. And you've said that you've had PTSD from some of this abuse, this racist abuse you've been suffering. We had the founder of Pimlico Plumbers, Charlie Mullins, banned from Twitter, now called X, after writing racist and threatening comments about you, referencing the fact you're a Muslim mayor and saying that you should be killed. Someone should kill him. How did you feel when you read that from such a high-profile person?
I want to say it beggars belief. Nothing surprises me anymore. It's more the impact of my daughters. You know, you're on the receiving end of some of this stuff as well, and you know, as a dad, you worry about your kids, right? Or you know, no matter how old they are. And as my daughter seeing that upset me the most. You know, my wife's an adult. You know, she's seeing some of the stuff, but also when you say this stuff, even though you might say you don't mean it, how do you know how somebody else is going to react to it in relation to, you know, the phenomenon of grooming, being radicalised, incitement? And so, listen, I'm up for robust debate. I think it's really important in a democracy. People should be acting in a way that make their views clear, but it should be lawful, peaceful, and safe. And that's one of the reasons, by the way. I'm like you. I support, you know, the ends in relation to Just Oil and Extinction Rebellion. I don't support some of their tactics because they're not lawful, safe, and peaceful. But this goes on the other side of that, because you're inciting others to not just commit a criminal offence, but to kill me. I mean, you know, I was somebody who was close friends with, you know, Joe Cox, right, who was murdered in 2016. I mean, you know, we were close. And so, and you know, from the work you do, people across the globe who are often the receiving end when people act on these sorts of messages. And listen, you've challenged me during this interview, and you will confirm nothing was off bounds in relation to the challenge. Right. That's the joy of a democracy.
Yeah, I agree.
But inciting people to commit criminal offences, commit criminal damage, I think, come on. I mean, you know, say if somebody did behave in a way that, you know, brings to life what people like that are saying, and I'm at the receiving end, or say you're creating an environment where my ethnicity and my religion is a relevant issue. And I just think, you know, we live in a multicultural, multiracial society. The great thing about our country and our city is there is no ceiling upon which you can't go through. Forget the glass ceiling being smashed. It was decimated ages ago. And you're just doing back some of the progress make. And I'd implore people, yes, be a critic of me, sign petitions, go on demos. You know, don't vote for me if you don't want to vote for me and stuff. But there's got to be a line, you know, beyond which you shouldn't cross.
No, I completely agree with you. It's disgusting. And you know, Mullins has apologised since then. He's been taken off Twitter, which is good. Good to see Elon Musk's Twitter, X as it now is, taking action to take him off for that, because that's unacceptable. And I'm glad he has apologised for it. Just want to leave on a positive note, Mr. Mayor. You've just committed £135 million of funding, meaning that 287,000 more state primary school children in London will get free school meals from this week. That is a great thing to do, and I congratulate you on it.
Thanks, President. Actually, I was somebody who had the benefit of free school meals.
That's great. We've got a picture, I think, of you and your brothers, actually, which you put out. Look at you, all sweet,
I'm the good-looking one.
Fresh-faced.
I'm the good-looking one in the centre.
I'm sure that, like my brothers, they might take issue with that, but I think it's great. Mr. Mayor, it's good to have you on Piers Morgan Uncensored. Don't leave us alone next time.
I promise I won't.
Thank you for joining me.